You're not going to be effective without a plan. That's why step 2 in your strategy development for your online marketing is to choose what platforms you're going to use to implement and execute your online marketing strategy. We covered step 1 in a previous video, and I can link that up in the comments. I personally feel that step 1 is deciding what kind of content you're going to commit to create, because that's really going to drive what platforms make sense then for you to utilize for your online marketing instead of doing that in reverse. So assuming you've decided that you know what kind of content you're committing to create on a regular basis, whether it's writing for blog posts or recording for podcasts, making videos, taking photographs. You can't do Instagram if you're not going to commit to some kind of photograph or video creation, as an example. So once you know what you're going to do, because no online marketing presence is going to be successful if it's completely just borrowed from other sources, just 100% curated from other people's original content. So once you do that, then you can go ahead and choose your platforms that you are going to use for your online marketing strategy. So content first, platform second. One thing to note here is your online marketing strategy choice of platforms goes far beyond social media. I know people tend to just think like, okay, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and you just think about those social media platforms. But really, your online marketing incorporates all of that. So it can be your social platforms. It can be if you are podcasting or making videos or blogging, if you have an email newsletter. SEO should be implemented on your site, utilizing Google My Business, which doesn't really quite fit in the social media category and doesn't quite fit in that directory category. But directories and review sites, because there are some industries where that's a really big factor for traffic. For example, TripAdvisor for the travel industry, Zillow reviews for realtors, things of that nature. So all of those things are your platforms and your tools and your tactics for your online marketing strategy. And you also have that paid component. So if you are going to be running Facebook ads or Twitter ads or Google ads, so that's also that last part of those lists of online marketing tools that you can use. So once you have that figured out, there's a few other sort of tenets to follow. Obviously, you do want to know where your customers are and potential customers are. So it is important that, if you personally really love Pinterest, but Pinterest doesn't make sense for your business, you're not going to be very effective over there. But tied into that, you do need to be really honest with yourself about the amount of time, the skill level, and the resources, whether it's, you paying someone else to do it. Maybe you have someone who is on your staff to work on your online marketing, but that means their time is then taken away from other things. So you need to be really honest with yourself about what you have to put into it, because I'm a big fan of doing more with less, because you're better off really, optimizing and making the most of all of the efforts that you're putting into a platform. If you just choose 1 or 2 platforms instead of being a small business owner and you're trying to do 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 things. So, focus in on a few things that make sense for you, but then also be realistic about if all of the things you want to do are a good fit for the times, the skill, and the resources that you have to put in to those online marketing efforts. So with that being said, another point that you need to consider is balancing the owned versus the rented. And this is something that people don't talk about so much, but it is really important because in the online marketing world, so much emphasis is put on social media, but most of us have learned the hard way that a social media platform can change their rules literally overnight. So if you put all of your eggs in one basket, or all of your eggs in rented space, so online properties that are controlled by someone else, whether if it is, like a Zillow or it's Pinterest or Facebook, whatever it is, it's important that you're investing in making sure you have a really good website, and that's like SEO that's optimized for search. Blogging is something that's attached to your site, so that's an owned property. If you're creating videos, if you at least have those video files, even if you post them other places, if you at least have those video files, that's your content that you've created. Gathering email addresses, that is something that you own. A lot of people swear that the true value is in the list, and they use those social media platforms to drive subscriptions to those email lists. So when you're thinking about the mix of those online marketing tools, make sure you're considering the owned versus the rented as well. So if you are doing something in social media specifically, there's a good chance that you want to have some kind of paid component. You don't necessarily need paid if you're doing some other things that are more like investing in your site, like, creating your podcasts and your videos and your blogs. You can learn SEO and optimize your website and optimize those blog posts for search. So that's not something that would be any kind of ongoing cost to you, but it is important that, especially since most small businesses have Facebook, you have to understand that we are in an environment where organic reach is really hard to come by, at least on any sort of even semi-consistent basis. So you do want to budget some amount of money on a regular basis for those paid ads when you're planning that online marketing strategy mix. So if you have any questions about choosing your platforms, please leave those in the comments below. I will link up the step 1 to this series in the comments as well. And you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.